A 17-year-old neo-Nazi has been charged with murder after murdering his girlfriend's parents once they reported his Hitler-fueled social media posts. Now, this is a picture here of Scott Fricker and his wife, Buckley Kuhn Fricker, who are the victims of this crime that took place in Reston, Virginia. Now, on Sunday night, Kuhn Fricker, the girlfriend's mom, alerted the principal of the Fairfax County private school that her daughter and the boyfriend attend, attaching numerous images of an account that she believes belonged to the boyfriend that had retweeted missives praising Hitler, supporting Nazi book burnings, calling for white revolution, making derogatory comments about Jews, and featuring an illustration of a man hanging from a noose beneath a slur for gay people. Now, in private Twitter messages, the account Kuhn Fricker attributed to the boyfriend responded to a photo of a candy shop that featured a display of a dreidel by writing, "I'm a run in there with my swastika armband right now." Now, Kuhn Fricker wrote that her daughter told her over the summer that the boyfriend was also very good at history, and that her daughter asked, "Did you know that Jews are partly to blame for World War II?" So obviously this alerted the mom and the parents, and so they wanted them to split up, and they actually staged an intervention. Now, after staging this intervention, the family believed their daughter had come to the realization that a breakup was in her best interest. So the mother texted a friend on Thursday night saying that the daughter was going to break up with the boyfriend, and that she had actually texted the boyfriend's mother that the boyfriend, we're not saying his name because he is a minor, was sneaking into our house at night and is an outspoken neo-Nazi. These things render any legal redemption void. Now, around 5 a.m. on Friday morning, Kuhn Fricker and Fricker heard a noise and discovered the teenage boy in their daughter's bedroom. The teen shot and killed the parents before inflicting a wound on himself. Now, he is currently in critical condition. No other family members were harmed, but this is an unbelievable and unspeakable tragedy that is I have no words. I really do have no words for this.
Well, so I hear from time to time from the alt-right, oh, we're just having fun when we do neo-Nazi imagery online, and all the different memes that, oh, it's just fun, it's just funny. We go on all these sites and we just like to rile people up, and we think people are too sensitive, so we like to offend people for fun. And what I've said over and over again is you turn people into neo-Nazis and then you think it's fun and that you're all having a good laugh over it. But it's not funny, and almost, there's about 250 to 300 million guns in the country. So you think some percentage of those neo-Nazis that are trolls online aren't serious? They are. And now these two lovely people died.
Look, I mean, look at the people that were armed in Charlottesville. I mean, that was ridiculous. And I think this story is most upsetting to me, I think, because these parents, all they were doing was the right thing.
Yeah.
They were trying to protect their daughter from somebody who was spewing this hatred and bigotry and violence. And they said, you know what, we think that you should break up with this boy. And this is what happened. I mean, what else could they have done?
So, and I would say, so people get upset with me sometimes when I say that there's some mental illness issues dealing, because I always get the argument, well, every time it's a white person, it's mental illness, but when it's a person of color, they were just being evil. And I'll say, this young man seemed troubled, because when his girlfriend broke up, his response to breaking up was murder. So these people are preying on your children as a mom. Those people are no different than gangs. Those neo-Nazi groups, those groups it's the same mentality that is looking for somebody who is empty and needs a family and has found a home. And that boy probably has some mental issues, because he killed 2 people because they made him break up with his girlfriend. Like, normal people don't do that. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's 2 things at play here, right? I think the neo-Nazi ideologies that came into his life, I think, are obviously a big component, right? And a lot of neo-Nazi ideology perpetuates and talks about violence, right? I think the other issue that comes into play, and you were, kind of reminded me of it when you were talking about it, is toxic masculinity and telling boys that to be strong and to be manly, you have to have a gun and you have to show people and man up and get some some balls and whatever it is that the society tells young boys is how they should show their masculinity. And so he took a gun and wanted to show the people that hurt him who was boss or who was the man in the situation. And we see this time and time again, and this is a common reaction, and this is, just a perfect example of domestic violence that was also fueled by neo-Nazism to, combine to create this horrendous tragedy on this poor family.
Yeah. I blame the neo-Nazi alt-right culture online. They encourage it every day. And they think it's funny. Oh, what's the big deal about offending Jews and blacks and Latinos? Ha ha. And it's not funny. It's incredibly dangerous. And you're stoking a certain percentage of the people that are participating in that to do horrific things like this.
Oh, I'm not throwing them a pass. But what I'm saying is that from a parental standpoint, these are the people who are, he's 17. They're preying on these young, impressionable minds with this toxic stuff, and these are the results of it. And I think that you have to watch your kids, because the internet is real, and I don't think people really understand. The internet is the biggest babysitter right now, and I don't think people understand what's out there feeding these kids. I do blame, neo-Nazi groups, and I'm a victim of dealing with the oppression that comes with white supremacy in America daily as a woman of color. So I'm always combating it, and people call me angry for it all the time. But I think that, and also these two people lost their lives because they stood up against racism and this ideology. And I think that it's so sad. But to the people who say that there are no people out there who stand up to this stuff, no white people, look at these white people who lost their lives.
Yeah, and they're in a huge way American heroes, and I think that the people that encourage this stuff are culpable. Look, BuzzFeed did a giant expose on how Milo did his big thesis for the alt-right, and he asked a bunch of neo-Nazis for input into it. It was so bad that Robert Mercer, the big benefactor of Breitbart, even had to pretend to pull his funding. He didn't, he just handed it off to his daughters, right? But these are the guys that they asked for guidance from. And look at what the results are. I mean, so the courage of this family was wonderful and laudatory, but there's monsters among us. Oh, yeah. And they're encouraging violence and hatred day in and day out. And this is one of the tragic results of it.
You just watched the video by the Young Turks, the home of the revolution. If you'd like to get the full show, come join us and become a member. TYTnetwork.com/join.